Hey, I'm Dark North, hope y'all are doing well. In this video, I'll be talking about Ganyu, whether she's worth pulling based on her own kit, pros and cons, and how F2P friendly are her teams, and the overall value she provides to an account. So first, let's take a look at Ganyu's kit and what she offers. Her highest source of damage is her Charge Shot Bloom, which can be melted for even more damage in a melt team. Most of her power being concentrated in a Charge Shot, which has no conditions to trigger, gives her some advantages. This makes her unaffected by skill cooldown debuffs and energy loss debuffs, as she can still just continue using her high damage charge shots even if she's unable to use her burst or skill. This is on top of the obvious benefit of being able to hit enemies at range from afar. Her skill is a taunt that does damage on initial hit and then again when it explodes. Her burst has a massive AoE that drops ice spikes that deal AoE cryo damage on hit. This burst also has the same duration and cooldown, giving it permanent uptime. Her passive gives teams in her burst AoE cryo damage bonus, and her other passive increases crit rate for her charge shot, lowering her crit rate requirements. So now let's talk about her team comps and how F2P friendly they are to build. There are two primary Ganyu teams, Melt and Freeze. Melt Ganyu, in my opinion, is very F2P friendly, as one of the two primary Melt teams for Ganyu use Xiangling as the Pyro Applicator, who is a free character. The other Melt team is focused on Kazuha Burst being the Pyro Applicator, which can be very easily done if using Bennett on the team, because Kazuha has a elemental absorption priority in order of Pyro, Hydro, Electro, and Cryo. This allows his burst to infuse with Pyro but also swirl Cryo, giving both Pyro and Cryo damage bonus to the team. The two artifact sets for Melt Ganyu are 4-piece Wanderers, which can be farmed from bosses and Strongbox, and 4-piece Shimanama, which can be farmed from the Emblem Shimanama domain, which is the most resin efficient domain in terms of how many characters can be geared from it. So now let's talk about Freeze Ganyu, who is very reliant on having specific 5-star characters to be played optimally, which makes it not F2P friendly in my opinion in that sense. It is F2P friendly in the sense that you don't need constellations on those specific 5 stars, and neither do you need 5-star weapons. You can play Freeze Ganyu including Morgana with C0 and 4-star weapons just fine. The best options for a Hydro Applicator in a Ganyu Freeze team are Mona and Kokomi. The best options for an Anima support are Venti and Kazuha. While there are replacements, the performance drop with them is very significant. While you can still possibly clear content with them, you may have a much better experience with Melt Ganyu instead. Best artifact set for Freeze is 4-piece Blizzard, which gives 40% crit rate on top of her passive that gives 20% crit rate to her charge shots and 15% more from Cryo Resonance, making Freeze Ganyu extremely easy to build and not very reliant on substats as compared to Melt Ganyu, especially if you are a newer player. In this sense, in terms of building Ganyu alone, she is technically more free-to-play friendly compared to building Melt Ganyu. So now let's talk about how much value Ganyu can add to an account. The value of Ganyu is very dependent on account age or account strength. When Ganyu came out, she was basically the strongest DPS, especially at C0 for free-to-play players. But since then, a lot of new characters have come out that are all very strong, including Ayaka, who is another Cryo DPS that is also insanely strong at C0 with a craftable 4-star weapon. And characters of other elements that are also very strong have been released since then. If you are a newer player or you just start playing, she will make a lot of your journey a cakewalk, and you're gonna have a much easier time clearing content, as she is very easy to build and play compared to other characters, and is very much new player friendly in my opinion. So if you want to have an easy time, Ganyu is basically the prime candidate, as she covers a lot of content and trivializes a wide variety and range of combat scenarios. So the older or stronger your account is, the less you need Ganyu, but that also applies for most characters. If you have already 36-star the Abyss and have been doing so for months, there's no real need to pull for anyone until you hit a wall. So it's a matter of what she provides on top of that, whether that's covering a specific niche you haven't covered or increasing damage of a team you already have. So let's talk about some of the niches that Ganyu covers that could potentially make you want to pull for her. First, if you don't have any Cryo DPS at all or have none of them built. This is a big reason to pull for her for situations where you would potentially want a Cryo DPS and you don't have one. Whether that's because there might be content where Cryo damage is buffed, or difficult enemies weak to Cryo like the Electro and Geo Rift Hounds being weak to their own elements. Second, if you need a Cryo support for your Ayaka or Shenhei team or Hu Tao Wave Mill team. When Ganyu first came out, everyone had believed her to be a support, but she turned out to be a DPS, which was memed upon quite a lot. but she can still be used as a support as she does have a massive AoE burst that does a lot of damage and has very good cryo application. And her passive gives party cryo damage bonus in the AoE of her burst. She can be paired with Shenhe, who massively buffs cryo damage of the team and can utilize her quills in a cryo team. She also works well with Ayaka and also can work with Hu Tao as a wave melt enabler. Third is if you need a DPS that is unaffected by skill cooldown or energy loss debuffs. Fourth is if you need a ranged character to kill enemies like specters or rift hounds or the flying hydro mimic birds, the Electro Manifestation, the Golden Wolf Lord, or really anything at range. Basically, if you want a very powerful ranged character. Fifth, she can also kill birds very easily because of her AoE of her charge shot, so if that's something you value, there's that. And sixth, she's cute, which is the reason I pulled for her all the way back when she first came out. So now that that's done, let's talk about some cons of Ganyu. First one has to do more with freeze Ganyu in my opinion, as freeze in general falls apart when you fight an enemy that can be frozen. That is boss enemies, which is the current abyss. For the current abyss for a freeze Ganyu team to be played optimally, you have to do second halves of chamber 1 and chamber 2, and then swap teams for the last chamber and use her on the first half against the ruined machines instead of the Malu Kenki. Now she can obviously still clear the said content, it's just gonna be more difficult compared to using Melt Ganyu or using other teams. Second is her Melt team, like I said, is very F2P friendly in regard to Xiangling being free. But Xiangling is also a character used in the national team, one of the most powerful teams in the game. Even more so for free-to-play players as the core is 3 4-star characters, one of them being the said free Xiangling. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check this video I made on the national team, the link is in the description. Using Melt Ganyu with Xiangling makes you unable to run national team, which can be considered a con to some players. So while this team is technically more F2P friendly than Freeze, it also uses characters that could have been used to make a powerful second team. Just something you should keep in mind if you don't have a strong second team that doesn't involve Xiangling. And that's the video. Hopefully this gives you some idea on Ganyu and helps your decision. If you have any questions or corrections, leave them down below in the comments. I will try my best to answer them, and be sure to sub to the channel for more videos like these, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. It helps a lot more than you think. I'm Dark North, thanks for watching, have a good one.